Welcome back to Youth Agenda. I am Hosanna Okorafo. And like you already know, I have two handsome men, brain parts here with me, Mr. Kelvin and Mr. Daniel. Welcome once again.
Thank you.
I hope you're all doing good. And in the spirit of, the Christmas, what's popping for Christmas? I should be dropping by at yours. Yeah. What are you cooking for Christmas? You don't want to tell us?
Oh, when you talk you come.
Okay, so let's talk about the budget.
Okay.
Now, a lot is going on with this budget thing. And I want to ask, why does, the budget, why do we have to borrow money to fund our budget? Like, what exactly is the problem? Like, why would the government choose to finance so many projects and, lots of, things they have outlined with a debt, Mr. Kelvin?
I think it's basically due to misplanning, lack of planning and lack of implementation, not even from this government, okay? Because as far back as I can remember, right from Buhari's regime, that's when we have been borrowing back to back, right? I think Obasanjo was able to clear most of this debt, and good luck Jonathan to revive the economy. But I think it's when Buhari came in, that's when this budget started, and they were not able to even be accountable towards this borrowed budget. They're not be able to be accountable. For them to be able to start a project and complete it, with that borrowed money is a problem. So they have to borrow again in next year to fulfill what they are doing last year and to service the one that for this year, right? So I think that is just basically lack of planning and lack of implementation that causes this continual borrowing.
So all along that they write budgets and all of that, they're not planning? There's no planning to this budget that they're writing and presentation to the NAS?
No, there is planning. I think it's planning basically. Nigeria, we are good planners. We can plan very well. We know how to plan. You can see that in our campaigns too. Yeah, when the politicians will say all the good things they will have to do, that means they will really plan, right? But I think the problem here is execution, right? Execution, when you plan, okay, you are going to build this highway from so and so place to so and so place, and when it's time to now execute it, then you now got to see, either they do it and they do it haphazardly, or they don't even do it at all. So I think it's execution that is our problem, and execution and lack of transparency on the government officials' part that is causing this issue of continually borrowing money to service our budget.
Now, talk about accountability. How can, civil society, especially youth groups, hold the government accountable for their spending decisions, Mr. Daniel?
Okay. One of the ways where I think we can hold them accountable is you said you used this money for this. Then we should see what you used the money for, and then we should see the breakdown if it even really worth it. Because you can't just come and throw something at our feet and say, this is what you used government funds for, and then we're not even seeing something tangible, something credible enough that worth that amount of money that you said you used to carry out this project. And I think there should be more transparency while carrying out these projects. We need to see, like I said again, we need to be involved. The youth needs to be involved in when it comes to government policies and projects. The youth need to be involved because we make up the population in the country. So the youth shouldn't be left outside.
So do you think that there are smart borrows that the government invests in the economy that can at least pay back long term?
For me, I don't know of any smart whatever on
Maybe
ground.
Infrastructure.
No. For me, I don't see anything. I think the youth are in trouble. Yes, the youth are in trouble. The unborn generations are in trouble. Yeah, due to this huge amount of debt that is coming in every year. As it is now, any child that is born into Nigeria now is automatically a debtor. So the youth are in trouble, and I don't see any infrastructure anywhere that is going to be used to pay back this debt. And the whole thing is just lack of planning, lack of execution, lack of foresight. The leaders are being myopic, short-sighted. Because they are not able to come up with ways they can develop our resources to help service, the economic activities of our country, right? With the resources, a huge amount of resources that we're being blessed with, the Nigeria government are still being lazy and blind to those areas, and they are a bit selfish in the most part, in areas of trying to exploit all these our resources, because these resources that we have, they can be used to actually develop this country to the greatest heights you can ever imagine, basically.
So let me ask, is borrowing bad per se, or is it what the money is being borrowed for that's the problem?
What the money is being borrowed for could actually be the problem. Because for me, I think if you're borrowing money, then you should be borrowing it because you want to use it for something that can actually generate more money. Because if you're borrowing it and it's not for something that can generate money, then what's the plan to pay back? Because when you borrow, you have to pay. So, and then you see our country who borrow money. Okay, now the country is going to borrow from this budget now. We're going to borrow from this budget. Now, coming to the educational sector, the government is giving out loans again to youth. That's indebting us again the more under the NEL fund scheme. Only this year, about 120 billion naira was given out to students in the NEL fund scheme, and it's still counting. And then, according to the budget, 3.5 trillion was allocated for education. That's telling you that about 500 billion is actually going for the NEL fund loan. They're indebting us. Indebting the youth.
But why? But can I ask a question? Why do the government need to borrow us money, like loan? When you say loan, it means give me
I pay you
or
back.
take and pay you back. Why is the education? I mean, when there is already an allocation for education, why do they still have to loan out money to people who cannot, make up, who cannot, try to go to school, the less privileged, or people who have but don't have so much? How do they intend to pay this money back? I mean, these monies are piling up. Are we being indebted in future, or because I'm trying to understand why we have to loan, why the government have to loan us money?
Basically, the government is not really loaning us money. The governments are borrowing the money from foreign bodies to service these sectors, right? Yes. And when we say that the people, the youth, are indebted one way or the other, it just means that all of us are going to pay, right? Even though we're not going to pay from our pocket. Well, it just means that we as Nigerians, we are indebted to these people, these bodies that are borrowing us the money. Right. So if I can get your question well, you're trying to say that why is Nigerian government borrowing the educational system, educational
when
body?
there is already an allocation for
the allocation
education.
basically now is coming from borrowed money. I think that is where the question is coming from.
That's why they should loan the money back to us.
Yes. The allocation to the educational sector is coming from borrowed money.
Okay.
Yes. So
they're still giving out loans.
But
The
they're
NEL
still giving
fund
out
scheme is a loan.
loans.
The
NEL fund
government
scheme is
pays your
loan.
school fees,
Yes.
and then you're going to pay back the
back.
money when you graduate.
I think that
Is it
system
like
now.
a business? Are they using us to do business? Like when they borrow this money, they now
I think
invest
that is
in us?
actually a corporate system. I think if I'm fully aware, in the like in the USA, for example, I think there's something like that where students are being borrowed money to go to school and they are expected to pay back when they started working. I think that system, the Nigerian government is just trying to introduce it now, which is not really fair. What they should try to be doing is to find other ways to educate the people, not by trying to imprison them, because that is imprisonment when you are borrowing students loan to go to school. These students, why are you even sending them to school? You can actually tell them to go and learn one or two skills for them to enter into the labor market immediately.
Because
because
there are no employment vast enough to cover for all of this.
Exactly. So I think that is actually a misplaced priority, and I don't know why they are even doing that in the first place.
And it's just for tertiary institutions, so not
for tertiary.
Well, not secondary.
So if you're not even a WAEC holder, you can't even afford. You need to gain admission, right? Gain admission before you can even access the loan.
So now let me ask, how might this, rising debt burden affect young Nigerians in terms of jobs, services, food, education, and everything generally?
It's going to affect us because you see the way the hike in taxes now, according to the government, is they did that to generate revenue because of the money they're owing out. Every Nigerian is paying tax because if money comes into your account, the bank is removing charges. To me, that's tax. So it's affecting us already in that aspect.
All right, thank you very much for joining us on this episode, because there's a lot going on with this borrowing. And I want to ask, how are we going to repay this money? We are owing the World Bank, the IMF, the Chinese people. We are owing lots of money. How do we intend paying back this money? What is the government putting in place? Are we going to keep borrowing forever? How is Nigeria going to be able to compete with the other people on the creative economy and other global space? I want these questions to be answered by our government officials, because this is a rising conundrum. Thank you very much for joining on today's episode of Youth Agenda. I remain Hosanna Okorafo.